Government payments that millions of Americans rely on each month may be in jeopardy in less than a week if Washington is unable to reach a debt ceiling agreement. The uncertainty of exactly what will happen next, both with those payments and to people's bank accounts, is only escalating anxiety as the deadline politics in Washington are being played out. Although the precise date is still unknown, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen maintains that the country may not be able to pay all of its bills in early June, possibly as early as June 1. Although they were far apart on a solution on Wednesday, President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have been adamant that the United States won't default. It's unknown what would occur if they don't. The country has never experienced a debt default. According to Rachel Snyderman, Senior Associate Director of Economic Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center, right now, we have to maintain optimism that a deal will be reached. The confusion and worry these episodes cause is not helpful to American taxpayers who do not have the luxury of choosing which bills they get to pay and which ones they don't at the end of the month, according to Snyderman. But this goes to show that there is a significant cost to brinkmanship over the debt limit, he added. Recent estimates from the Washington-based Bipartisan Policy Center, which monitors federal cash flows, indicate a higher risk of default between June 2 and June 13. The center and other analysts think the government will have more time before going into default if the Treasury is able to continue financing it through June 15. A significant obstacle. According to the think tank, $100 billion in payments are expected to be made on June 1 and June 2. Biden stated earlier this month, "We shouldn't even be talking about this situation," warning that such payments could be at risk if a default took place. The heads of the U.S. Armed Forces said this week at a Council on Foreign Relations panel that failure to raise the debt ceiling would have an impact on their operations. James McConville, Chief of Staff of the Army, said, "We've got to make sure that our soldiers get paid." The wife of a young specialist in the 101st Airborne Division provided one of the best quotes, continued McConville. She said, "My kids can't eat retroactively during one of the most recent government shutdowns when the government said there might not be paychecks and they said troops and their families will get paid retroactively." During a press conference with the House Progressive Caucus on Wednesday, Illinois Democratic Rep. Jan Schakowsky passionately expressed concerns she had heard from one of her constituents, Janet, who she claimed had a chronic mental illness and was concerned about not being able to pay for rent, food, or medications. If they understand what is happening, there are a million Janets around the globe who are sitting at home and waiting to see what the Republicans will try to do to them, according to Schakowsky. Possible scenarios? No plan exists for a default, but some have suggested that the Treasury Department could decide which payments to make and which to ignore in order of priority. A bill that would require the Treasury to first pay all principal and interest on the national debt before paying all Social Security and Medicare benefits was advanced earlier this year by the Republican-led House Ways and Means Committee. Officials are divided on whether such prioritization is legitimate or even possible, including the Treasury Secretary. "I would say that our payment systems have been constructed in order to pay our bills, not to decide which bills to pay and which bills not to pay," Yellen said on Wednesday at a Wall Street Journal summit. Prioritization is not really something that is operationally feasible in general. When asked if Medicaid or Social Security payments would take precedence after the X date or date of default, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre emphasized that this is not the plan. She remarked on Wednesday, "It is a recipe for economic catastrophe." Another option would be for the Treasury to hold off on any expenditures until there was enough revenue to pay all bills for a full day. Former Assistant Treasury Secretary and current Chief Policy Strategist Chris Campbell previously told ABC News that in the extremely unlikely event that default occurs, "I'm certain that the Treasury Secretary would have a series of options at her disposal to be able to work through the challenges should that occur." On Wednesday, though, Yellen reaffirmed that the Treasury is committed to not having missed payments and raising the debt ceiling. She stated, "We are not involved in planning for what would occur in the event of a default."